because at the end of the day, you don't know what's going to happen with the social media platform, whether they
Yeah.
change the algorithm, whether they, remove you from ever showing anything again, whether they go defunct. You do not control any of that, which is why we always say email, even though it is a dinosaur, is still something that our clients should 100% focus on.
This is Social Pulse Podcast Agency Edition, your go to guide to solving your biggest marketing agency challenges authentically. I'm your host, Mike Galton, and each episode is an honest and frank look at what agencies go through, from turning clients to tackling tech and ideas that you can apply to your own business. And now, the rest of today's episode. Welcome back to Social Pulse Podcast Agency Edition, where each and every week we're talking to marketing agencies like you, going through many of the same struggles you're going through and sharing their stories. Subscribe to find in each episode the inspiration, the motivation, and the perspiration that go into growing and scaling agencies like yours. Now, running a marketing agency today means constantly adapting to never-ending streams of platform changes, algorithm updates, and emerging technology. I mean, just when you've mastered Facebook ads, suddenly TikTok demands attention. You finally think you understand SEO, then Google changes everything overnight, literally. Each pivot requires new skills, different team members, and updated client strategies, all while maintaining profitability and keeping clients happy with results. And the pressure to stay relevant while delivering ROI has never been more intense. Today, we're fortunate to have Darwin Liu, founder and CEO of X Agency, a digital marketing firm that has not just survived, but thrived through 15 plus years of industry transformation. Darwin leads a powerful team of growth hackers, engineers, writers, and storytellers dedicated to driving profitability for their clients. His agency culture emphasizes excellence, curiosity, and integrity, qualities that have helped X Agency navigate the evolution from early social platforms to today's AI revolution while consistently delivering results. Hey, Darwin, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on the podcast, Mike. I am very excited to be here. And yes, as you just said, one quick note is marketing is a double-edged sword, right? It changes so fast, which makes it fun and interesting. But it's also, it changes so fast that you need to keep up with everything. And that is also a big headache. So very tough to navigate for sure.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, I've been writing about social media and digital marketing since the early 2010s. And we've been talking for almost 2 decades now about how fast social media changes. Of course, then AI came along and said, hold my beer. We're going to literally change overnight every single day. But you, with your agency, you've been going through this now for a decade and a half and more. Take us back to the beginning. What was the landscape looking like when you first started compared to today?
Yeah, so quick funny story for you is I graduated college in 2008, right? And when I graduated, I Googled how to get rich online. And that was where internet marketing was sort of the wave. So when I hopped on Warrior Forums is big, and that's sort of where I learned my craft. But back in the day, it was like the Wild Wild West. Google CPCs, were somewhere around 8 cents to 30 cents. I was able to promote affiliate, I'm going to call them scams. They're not really scams. They're so free rebuild offers, but they didn't have all of that, all of these security protections nowadays where, we do something like that and Google automatically flags it, right? Facebook just came out. And that's actually where I actually made a lot of money in Black Hat. When Facebook first came out, they didn't have all of, their tech team now cleaning everything up and figuring out what people are doing on their platform. But back in the day, I would do free iPad, free email offers for iPads where if they enter their email, they would, get something, but it's actually a rebuild that the people do these offers. They used to have these back in the day, not anymore. I would just create a quick script on Facebook, which they allowed back then. Nowadays they don't. Which
Mhm.
first forced them to add all of their friends, right, before they could enter their email. Second step was to enter their email. I would get paid $1.50 per email, and I was making hundreds a day just from doing something like that. Nowadays, you cannot do stuff like that. Nowadays, they have cleaned all this stuff up dramatically, and we're sort of, white hat is the sort of way to go now, and a lot of these black hat techniques have been removed.
Yeah, I blame, Cambridge Analytica for ruining it for all of us.
Yes, yes.
My gosh. But, it's funny 'cause, like I said, I've been doing this for a long time as well. One of my big moments from a negative perspective was when Google Plus shut down. I don't know if you remember Google Plus. Some of the folks listening might remember it. Most of you don't. It's been gone for over a decade, but when it shut down as a major social network owned by Google, I had 250,000 followers, and that was a major source of not just interest and engagement, but actual revenue for me. what's been one of the most challenging shifts that you've had to face in your industry, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, and then, one quick I wanted to sort of backtrack to your the Google Plus piece, right? This
Yeah.
is one recommendation, and there's actually a question I get a lot from folks, which is, there's the Amazons, the Facebooks, and the Pinterest. Why aren't we just focusing all of our dollars and marketing and all that on, say, Facebook, because that's where we get all of our money? And my response always is, because at the end of the day, you don't know what's going to happen with the social media platform, whether they
Yeah.
change the algorithm, whether they remove you from ever showing anything again, whether they go defunct. You do not control any of that, which is why we always say email, even though it is a dinosaur, is still something that our clients should 100% focus on, right? um, but now, if we're talking about sort of challenging industry shifts, when I started, we used to run paid ads on manual bidding. Automation was not a thing. And that's sort of where we built our bread and butter, right? So what we do here is we do scientific slash systematic testing on sort of, platform specific settings. And when we do something like that, that's sort of where we build our systematic marketing approach. We have this thing called the X system, where we're able to both scale and increase revenue at the same time. And our whole playbook, when I first started doing this for our agency, was built on manual bidding. Now, automated bidding, keyword target ROAS and all that jazz on these platforms came somewhere around maybe 2019-ish, if I'm just throwing a date out there, okay?
Yeah.
And when that came, we had this whole playbook that we are generating amazing results on using manual bidding. We had to shift our focus, say, wow, okay, this is really changing it. Our playbook got wiped out, so we basically just had to build a new playbook. We still have the same ideology in terms of how we do things, but overall, we have the stuff planned out, right? AI is the new thing, obviously, and that's emerging tech. At the end of the day, we just have to be, early adopters and really utilize the tool, scientifically test it, see what works, see what doesn't.
I asked the question, and I love your answer because I think it's really instructive. Obviously, that ship has passed. We now have automatic bidding, so that's no longer an issue for everyone. But many of the agencies listening are helping their clients today with SEO, and the SEO landscape is literally changing overnight. Google is now shifting more and more towards AI overviews and AI answers instead of the traditional list of responses. And to your point, that means we just need to create a new playbook, and we need to figure it out on behalf of our clients. And one of the things that I think a lot of agency owners are struggling with, but we haven't really talked about on this show, is the financial aspects of transformation, whether it's investing in a new technology or figuring out new talent or taking the time to write a new playbook. How do you approach these kinds of transitional periods?
Yeah, and the funny thing is this is sort of an iterative approach, right? When I first started, we would, see this cool new tech. Let's just say, let's say task tracking. Perfect example might be using something like a ClickUp or something like a Zoom info for sales. When we
Mm.
first started, we got a sales pitch. Great, this looks great. Let's go purchase all of the licenses annually. Let's roll out to the whole team, which never really works, to be quite honest. So after messing up a few times, right? Nowadays, say we're using a new platform, a new tech, what we'll try to do is we'll try to pilot it, whether it is getting sort of a dummy account to use, or whether it is, if we're using ClickUp, we're going to say, hey, we're going to roll it out to beta testers within X agency to see if it actually works for us. Build the standard operating procedures off of that sort of the beta testing team first. Then, if it works and everything's great, we have the process built out, then we roll it to the team. We try to not sign into crazy contracts and try to at least get some trials at the beginning, right? Because nowadays, it doesn't matter what tools you have, you do definitely have a lot of companies competing with each other. So one, I would suggest never hurts to ask for a free trial or a dummy account just so you can poke in. We also, if it's a new platform, try to get references, right? So big clients that have used it, we try to talk to them if possible. In terms of the finances side, when I first started, it was just buying anything for the budget. Nowadays, we do have a bottom, flat margin that we try to always run on. So if we are trying to bring on this crazy expensive tool, we need to figure out where we need to pull that money from. And if we can't, then we can't sign on board yet.
Love it. So be smart, be patient, be methodical about how you're doing those things. Now, earlier, I talked about your agency, and I mentioned the fact that you've got growth hackers and engineers, writers, and storytellers, which is really unique. I don't recall having ever spoken to an agency owner that specifically listed growth hackers and engineers on their roster. How has that come about? How has your team evolved? I imagine you didn't start 15 years ago with growth hackers and engineers.
Yeah, no, and it's it evolved in a sense because we needed folks who truly understand the tech side, and what we try to do, we call this sort of we call algorithm hacking. Is no real phrase for it, right? And
Mm.
to truly understand the algorithms, doesn't matter what platform, we need someone with sort of an engineering mindset. Now, are these truly engineers? No, not necessarily. These are actually coding folks who actually understand code, marketing code, and how it applies across the board. So, and obviously we need the growth hacking mindset for the marketing side, right? So, and then, we do a lot of ads, and words do matter nowadays. Attention spans are getting lower. So we do need folks who can actually figure out how to capture attention immediately within the first second, which is how all this stuff fuse together. When I started, it was just, okay, let's start a marketing agency because that's sort of the field I'm in. And this all came after learning what we actually needed, right? Nowadays, what we found is if you bring in someone who manages your tags, sorry, if you bring in a web developer, they don't necessarily understand the tag side. And if you bring in a sort of a marketing person who understands the tagging stuff, they don't understand the coding side, which is why we needed to sort of fuse a lot of these folks together, put them in a room together, had them, share the knowledge and really just put everything together so we can actually have a good core product in terms of service.
I think that's fascinating. Now, when you started the agency, was it just you, or did you have a team? And how many folks are on your team today?
Yeah. So, quick story would be, when I did my black hat marketing, it went great and all for about 2 years. And what ended up happening was, what's wrong with black hat is you make a lot of money real fast, but Google or Facebook comes in and they find out what you're doing and they kill it. And I was sort of sick of that model of finding the next hole that I can fill before it gets plugged. So what ended up happening is I had to work at an agency. And while working at the agency, I started at entry level, right, Mike? And what every single year I was promoted, I did build a name for myself in this industry because at the end of the day, it is a very small industry. So while I was, working at the industry, I made, I networked with a lot of folks. They loved what I was doing. When I immediately left, we were at seven figures within the first 6 months because folks did, reach out. They tried to come with us. So yeah, within 6 months, we were about seven figures. We currently right now, in terms of full-time employees, I believe we have about 17. We have some part-time and sort of contracting folks, somewhere around 10 to 15. So not too large. We are definitely trying to grow to the next phase right now. But yeah, we're definitely still growing. The tariffs have definitely hit us hard because primarily a lot of our clients are e-com based, right? But we're still, as you already know, marketing changes with drop of a dime, and we are just trying to move with the waves.
That's exactly right, folks. We're talking with Darwin Liu about how agencies can keep up with today's rapid
Well,
changes, the ones we've been talking about this entire time, emerging tech. And in a moment, we're going to talk about working with clients. But first, let's make sure you and your team have enough bandwidth to monitor those kinds of trends.
When I take a look at the biggest core benefit for Agorapulse, I have to look at two sides of the equation. I have to look at what it does for us, as far as managing our community and all of the conversation management tools, which I appreciate so much. But from a far more pragmatic point of view, it saves us money. It saves us a lot of money because of the productivity, the features that are built in with how it manages those conversations. We don't waste time. We're efficient.
Agorapulse allows me to get through all my messages and my replies really quickly. That's probably the number one reason for me wanting to use the tool. It saves so much time.
A big draw for me with Agorapulse was the ability to manage my YouTube comments. That is a huge feature for me, and here's why. Because up until then, I basically would have to go into my social media manager system to do everything there, and then I'd have to log out, go back into YouTube, and do the same thing there. Now, when you are managing multiple clients, this becomes a huge waste of time, right? And what we want to do is streamline that efficiency. So we can log into one website now. We can manage all of our major social profiles there, and we're able to serve our clients with more clarity and purpose.
They worked with us, they helped train us on how to get everything up and going, and we were able to cancel out all the other tools that we didn't need anymore. So it saved us a lot of time and a lot of headache for my team members as they're, now they only have one tool that they can maximize their clients in.
So, Darwin, I'm wondering if you could share an example maybe of one of the clients that you've worked with, how you've helped them kind of respond to a major industry shift, and what kind of results did they achieve as a result?
Yeah, so more of a more recent example would be connected TV. there has definitely been a big shift into video, obviously video content, and connected TV for the folks who don't might not know what that is running ads on the Netflixes, the Hulus, and the HBO Maxes of the world, right? A lot of folks aren't doing that nowadays, and a lot of advertisers don't realize that you do not have to have a 100K budget to spend money on this. So we've really been doing more CTV for a lot of our clients. It is definitely a big thing, and we do bring it up to our clients in terms of what else they can do. What ended up happening was we have been running more CTV through Mountain. We are definitely we are a Mountain partner. And we've been able to achieve a 4x ROAS on top of branding, right? So the first client that we brought on board, they were afraid of using it just because they didn't know the returns, and we obviously didn't know the returns as well. So what we really did was obviously get some case studies, tested this on some smaller brands, and then really just tried to get one big client to test, and try to get more case studies through all of the clients that we're testing. And what we end up doing is using these case studies to show our future clients. But yes, CTV, we have been doing amazing on it. Branding, one client spent somewhere around 950 grand ish, and they made somewhere close to, I have the notes down, about 4x return on investment.
Wow, that's amazing. And I'm familiar with that kind of platform. It's something I've been wanting to get into and test. I think I'm still waiting for Hulu to approve my manager account. So I want to test some podcast ads and that sort of thing there. But that's really cool that you were seeing those kinds of results. What any particular industry? Was those all e-commerce or something else?
We e-commerce and nonprofit. So same thing. A nonprofit isn't a ROAS number; it's a CPL number, right? Because we try to get donations for them. But amazing, these are all amazing results. And when I say 4x return, I'm talking about GA4 revenue. I'm not talking about platform revenue, and that is a totally different ballgame, right? So
Right.
we ran YouTube ads, YouTube CTV and YouTube brand and YouTube mastheads at 100K a pop, and it never returns that kind of money on a branding campaign. And the fact that these are paying for itself, it really does prove value. We also use such statistical analysis. So I don't know if anyone knows about Pearson correlation. Nowadays, it is very hard to sell paid social or anything social or say CTV because the higher level managers, the C-suite folks, don't understand it, and they say, okay, show me the numbers, and you cannot because GA4 does not show the numbers, right? So one way we sort of figure out how to tackle that is use Pearson correlation. Is a statistical model that shows correlation between increased spending from one channel in terms of increased revenue from another. So we'll use say Facebook ads or we'll use CTV ads, and we'll correlate it with, okay, this is actually boosting your revenue on your direct revenue, on your referral revenue, on your organic social revenue.
Love it. This is fascinating. Now, I joked earlier that social media we thought changed rapidly, and then AI came along and it's changing even more rapidly. Obviously, the pace of change certainly seems to be getting faster and faster every single year. Has your approach to adapting to new tech changed, and if so, how?
No, not necessarily, and I think there is that law that they talk about. I just forget the name of it, but technology doubles, right?
Moore's
Back in
law.
the
Yeah.
yeah, okay, there we go. Yes, and at the end of the day, we try to be early adopters, right? AI just came out, and everyone in the company, we prioritize learning. Everyone in the company is right now forced to sort of use AI, use different AI tools, understand it, and we share our knowledge within the group. So in terms of changing our approach, no, we try to not focus on shiny objects. We do jump on trains depending on how big it is. And AI is a big train, so we do focus on that. Uh, and what we end up doing is really it's a same quick maybe three-step process. One, early adopt. Two is everyone is required to actually use the tool. Three is we share our knowledge, right? And then four, what we do is once we understand what's happening, we build our own playbook based on it using scientific tests.
Love that. As an AI evangelist, that's music to my ears. Because you're right. I mean, this isn't even a new technology. It's an entire revolution. It's the fourth industrial revolution. It's changing how all businesses operate. So it's not optional. Unlike past social platforms like Clubhouse, businesses could skip on Clubhouse and you wouldn't be losing out on anything. I'm wondering though, how specifically with clients do you communicate some of this stuff? You may have just touched on that in your previous answer, but I'd love if you clarify a little bit more specifically how you're working with clients to help them adapt to new approaches, new industry, new technology.
Yeah, and I'd say depending on the client type, right? We have publicly traded companies who are not just going to jump on the next wave of, say, AI tools you want to use. So we generally try to go to our smaller clients who are ready and willing to do something like this. So one is we will always test on ourselves. Whatever we are testing, whether it is AI or sort of new optimization practices, we will run it on our own site, our own marketing campaigns first. If it works out, we will then move on to sort of our early adopting clients who are generally the smaller clients who are, they're not huge corporations that have to go through 7 chains of leadership. They are not publicly traded. They're willing and easily, they will say yes quickly off the bat, right? Once we get metrics and numbers to prove a case, that is when we actually bring all this and sell our larger clients because the larger the clients are, the more change that they have to go through, the more change they have to go through. They're focused on these top level numbers. And if you can't provide that to them, they are never going to make a decision on, say, trying the next new AI tool or trying AI auto blogging or cornerstone content, stuff like that.
I really like that your approach to emerging technology is basically the same as your approach to a technology that just happens to be new to you, right? Because your approach to OTR is the same as AI, is the same as anything else, right? You're going to learn it yourself, and then you're going to work with smaller clients first and establish not only success rates, but obviously you're going to create your own workflows and frameworks and build up your own knowledge and expertise while you are hopefully achieving success for clients and creating case studies. Such a smart approach. I hope everybody listening is writing this down and thinking about, yeah, this is how I should do. Whether it's adding a new social network or a new service, start small, start internally, then grow from there. I'm wondering, Darwin, just as a last question, looking ahead, are there any specific emerging technologies or trends that you think the agency owners listening should be preparing for now to try and stay competitive over the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, and I've thought extensively on this to be quite honest, whenever, I have a chance to reflect. And I tell my team this as well, which is we do not want to be the agency that is, back in the day, the horse and buggy, right? When Ford came by, people thought it wouldn't do a single thing and they kept their horse and buggies. And then what ends up happening is you're just holding the horse and buggy. When Ford comes by with, the engines and you're totally left in the dust. AI is changing the ball game, right? And what I really do think is that this agency model, while it will still work for larger accounts and say enterprise level or enterprise level clients, for the small business folks, the folks who are serving local, smaller, say mom and pop shops who are serving client, and these agencies are serving clients under $1 million, AI bots are coming, right? We are, we're creating one internally for our own use based on our sort of marketing strategies and learning off that. But there are multiple companies out there who are right now creating marketing bots, productivity bots, sales bots, all that, which will, change the whole game for, say, these small business owners. They don't need us anymore, right? They can just go to a bot for $100 a month and at the end of the day have all their stuff done without paying thousands of dollars a month. That's definitely something you have to look into, right? I would say try to add AI technology stacks to your own sort of service models because at the end of the day, every other agency is doing it. So if you are not, you are definitely going to be left in the dust. And clients are, their interests do peak when you talk about AI. So the more things you can do to really stay in the game on top of standing out, obviously, ideally by bringing in AI, one to make your team more efficient, one to make your marketing more better and efficient. You are not going to be competitive moving into, say, I'd say you give this 2 more years and the whole marketing agency world is going to change.
Yeah, sadly, I couldn't agree more. As folks listening might know, I've got my own side hustle. I've got an AI podcast and that sort of thing. And thanks to AI, I'm maintaining 3 websites, blog posts,
Hmm.
an email subscription with 45,000 subscribers, a weekly podcast, sometimes twice a week, social presence on every platform. And I'm doing that in just like 2 to 4 hours a week thanks to AI. I am not paying anybody else to run my marketing. I'm not that I had budget to do that before, but I'm doing even more than I ever used to do thanks to AI. And definitely small boutique agency owners who are used to working with small businesses need to be rethinking how can they best provide value to those business because that repetitive routine stuff and AI is just knocking it out of the ballpark.
Yeah, I mean, one and then, last quick example for you is
Mm.
we've started really testing, AI and blogging, right? Where nowadays, you know, I also have a sort of side hustle where I have a dog clothing company, and I sort of tested it on here first, which really was, AI content, AI auto blogging based off of your own existing content, right? So if AI is a skill, so the more you query, you can understand what it does, and you can get the sample content, you can get the AI bot roles. And what we're really doing is we're bringing AI into Sheets, and what we do is we use AI for almost everything in terms of SEO research. We are building out thousands of long tail blog terms that has search volumes of 30 to 200 that no one is really ranking for. And what ends up happening is we take it and we point all of that up to our own site. I mean, my dog clothing company, the traffic for organic was minimal, and now it's at 10K a month. And we spend zero time on the content at all. It is just straight AI. API upload from the sheet, so we don't have to manually upload it, right? The AI can pull the images and everything. Everything is pushed out with just a click of a button.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like you mentioned images, I think stock photography, they're dead. They're absolutely dead. When you can go to Gemini and ask for any image you want, even an 8-second video, now with audio and background music, what do I need B-roll for? What do I need a stock photography site for? I can just
I
change
think,
it with AI.
and I would say video and image creation is almost there. It's not
Mhm.
fine-tuned yet. Obviously, they are getting better at it. Video creation, I think you guys are still solid for a little while, but eventually, man, they're taking that over too.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, Darwin, this has been absolutely incredible, very insightful interview. I know folks are just buzzing with questions. If they want to reach out to you and ask you something, where should they go?
Yeah, you can email me at darwin@xagency.com. I always answer questions. It just takes me a while. So feel free to email me. I will 100% answer them. Or connect me with on LinkedIn is linkedin.com/darwin.liu, I believe. Or visit our website, xagency.com. I do love professing and helping out. So if you have any sort of questions at all, feel free to reach out. And obviously, thanks for having me on the show, Mike.
Awesome. Thank you, Darwin. Thank all of you for listening. Of course, we'll have all of Darwin's links in the show notes for you below. But that's all the time we got for today, friends. Don't forget to find the Social Pulse Podcast Agency Edition on Apple and drop me a review. I'd love to know what you thought about this episode and what you'd like us to cover in the future. Until next time. Thank you for listening to another episode of Social Pulse Podcast Agency Edition, hosted by Mike Alton and powered by Agorapulse, the #1 rated social media management solution, which you can learn more about at agorapulse.com. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favorite podcast player and be sure to leave us a review. Your feedback is important to us.